All right, guys, listen up. This is the biggest shot of our lives, okay? We cannot afford to miss it. Everybody lock in right now. Okay, oh my God. Give me the camera 7 right now. Give me the camera 7. Oh my God. That's it. Holy shit. We're going to win a Emmy off this. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, what's up? Phone call for you. Thank you. Hello. Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah. All right, folks. The Dallas Mavericks defeated the Utah Jazz last night, 110-102. That, in and of itself, not really an accomplishment. This Utah Jazz team, they're not it. They don't look very good to start the season. In fact, they've yet to win a game. But this was yet another impressive game for the Mavs' second-year center, Dereck Lively, who finished with 14 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 3 blocks with a team-high plus 14. And this continues what has been a very impressive start to the season for Dereck Lively. Through 3 games, I have to preface all of this, 3 games is a nothing sample size, and I'll probably be saying this for the next few weeks, maybe even the next few months, that these are small samples that we're basing it off of, but we are using our eye test. We're looking at how players look when they're on the basketball court, and Dereck Lively looks very good to start his second season. Through 3 games, he's at 11 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, nearly 4 of those being offensive rebounds, 3.7 assists per game, a block per game, 0.7 steals per game, on 73% true shooting, all while only averaging 25 minutes per game. Now, if we were to go full small sample size madness and look at these 3 first games with per 36 stats, we're talking about 16 points per game, 12.3 rebounds per game, 5 of those being offensive rebounds, 5 assists, and 1.4 block per 36 minutes. I've seen really what I was hoping and wanting to see from Dereck Lively entering his second season. Of course, there was the talk all offseason. Could Dereck Lively add a 3-point shot into his arsenal? We haven't seen that yet, and we probably won't see that. I'm thinking we might see him attempt 5, 6, maybe 7 threes this entire season. What I was hoping to see is Dereck Lively just cut down the mistakes. That was one thing for Lively his rookie year as a 19-year-old center. He made very few mistakes, which is a very rare thing you see from rookie bigs, especially bigs that are that young. But he was just, he felt so comfortable on the basketball court. You rarely ever saw mistakes, but they were there. And so far this season, he's really cut back on those mistakes in these first 3 games, and he just looks more comfortable on the basketball court. I think you see that with how well he plays in space defensively, how smart he is rebounding, tipping out rebounds. I mean, how many offensive rebounds have the Mavericks had so far this season where he's just tipping out balls? Like, he's just aggressive, he's physical, and he uses that physicalness on the offensive glass without fouling to create second opportunities for his team. And it's not only the hustle and the energy plays, but it's the wherewithal to know where you are in the basketball court and where your teammates are. Gets this tough offensive rebound right here, and while he's falling out of bounds, just a beautiful pass to PJ Washington, who knocks down the 3. Again, more great effort by the second-year big man, getting an offensive rebound here off of a Luka missed free throw amongst the sea of trees, getting up and then just kicking it out to a wide-open Klay Thompson for 3. I'm never going to get tired of seeing that. Klay Thompson's had a phenomenal start to the season for the Mavericks, but we'll save that for another day. It's the court presence and the high basketball IQ that really impresses me with Dereck Lively, and we saw it on display last year. I mean, his assist numbers were never crazy or anything like that, but if you watch the games, you saw plenty of plays where the Mavericks were running high pick and rolls, Lively would get the ball in the short roll and make the right read, make the right kick out. He has 11 assists through 3 games so far this season. He had 60 assists total all of last season, and I think it was 55 games played. He had 6 assists on opening night, 3 against the Suns, 2 in this game against the Jazz. He only had 1 game last year with 6 assists, 5 games with 3 or more, and 15 with 2. So early on, through the first 3 games, we're already seeing that sort of leap from Dereck Lively. And what's interesting about these assists, they're not really the short roll kickouts that we saw last year, those quick reads that were really impressive and really made us question his ceiling. These are like dribble handoff assists into Luka, who's, receiving the handoff and flowing into a step back 3. Why do I think this is interesting? Because Dereck Lively solidified himself as such a dominant rim runner last year, such a dominant pick and roll threat, that teams have completely adjusted. We saw it in the playoffs last year. Teams said, we are taking away the pick and roll. You are not beating us that way. The Mavericks were probably the most prolific pick and roll team last year. The Luka Lively duo was one of the best in the NBA at it. Teams in the postseason sold out to take that away. Teams so far this season are selling out to take that away. So what does that open up for the rest of the offense? It's plays like these. Victor Wembanyama is sagging so far off this screen because he's worried about the pick and roll threat that Luka can take the handoff and just coast into a 3. Again, same thing. Wemby sagging so far off on this screen to prevent the roll that Luka has what's for him a pretty great look at 3. Again, Nurkic is in such a deep drop here, and that's mainly because Nurkic is terrible and can't really do much else. I don't know how he looked so good in this game against the Mavericks, but boom, Luka 3. Again, Nurkic is playing damn near at the rim on this screen. Nice little give and go here. Leads to a Luka layup. These are not impressive assists. I make fun of Sabonis all the time for these type of assists. But it is interesting how defenses are now playing these high ball screens and these dribble handoffs. And I think it's going to lead to more scoring opportunities for the Mavericks lead guards in Luka and Kyrie Irving. Now it's up to those two to be aggressive in attacking these drops, which Luka's been a little inefficient to start the season. I'm sure that'll turn around, and Kyrie just needs to be a little bit more assertive and aggressive. He's sort of, letting the game come to him early on this season. But I think it's a testament to Lively's playmaking ability that the Mavericks feel very comfortable with him in the high post as this sort of offensive hub. We saw it in the preseason. We see it here with this little pass to Najee Marshall on a cut out of the high post for Lively. They feel comfortable with Lively in the high post playmaking out of it. And it's just a testament to how good of a playmaker he is for a sitter at 20 years old. And when it comes to scoring, Lively's always going to be this, lob threat. But it's plays like these, Lively catching a pass and a little jump hook over John Collins, that's really going to be important for his development. And those are the things that are going to impact the Dallas Mavericks right away. Like if he can become more efficient around the rim with his hook shots, with his little jump hooks, those are things that are going to help out this team tremendously right now. Not like some hypothetical self-creation leap that I'm not sure is ever coming, or this three-point shooting leap that could come eventually, but probably not anytime soon. So far to start the season, the Mavs in transition is really the thing that has been most interesting to me with Dereck Lively. We've talked about this a little bit. The Mavericks were a team that wanted to play with some pace. Last year was the first time in the Luka Doncic era they were top 10 in pace. They finished 9th. They lost some of their best athletes in the offseason, losing Derrick Jones Jr., losing Josh Green, two guys who were great in transition. How are they going to replace that? So far, it's been a lot of Dereck Lively in transition, and he's been tremendous running the floor, especially in this game against the Jazz. The Jazz are just a horrific transition defense. The Mavs in transition have been a full 7 points per 100 better to start the season with Dereck Lively on the court versus him off. It's because of his athleticism, his explosiveness, his, hustle, his motor to get down the court that the Mavericks get good looks around the rim when he's on the court in transition. But obviously, we cannot talk about Dereck Lively without talking about his defense, and damn, he looks good defensively so far this season. The offense and all of that stuff is gravy, really. I mean, we know he's going to be a great pick and roll threat. The playmaking, we've already seen it. We know it's there. All the other hypothetical stuff, all of that shit is just the cherry on top of the sundae, right? It's his defense that has just really stood out to me so far this season. Again, 3 games. We're talking a very, very small sample size here. Okay, the Mavericks have a 105 defensive rating. That is currently 5th in the NBA. They've played 2 teams that are going to be bad in the Spurs and the Jazz. So I would not take too much away from that. But when Dereck Lively is on the court, you can just tell how much of an impact he has on this defense. Opponents are only shooting 58% at the rim so far against this Mavericks team. Dereck Lively is a big reason for that. Through the first 3 games, the Mavericks defense is 8 points per 100 possessions better when Lively is on the court. Opponents are attempting shots at the rim 13% less, and opponents are shooting 12.5 percentage points worse at the rim when contested by Dereck Lively. That high basketball IQ we talk about on offense, you also see on defense. Larry Markkinen here, pretty good job by Quentin Grimes, forcing him to pick up that dribble so early. And Lively comes out of nowhere to swat that shit. Keldon Johnson, big body, big physical driver getting downhill. Good pickup by Dereck Lively. And again, just getting straight up and altering that shot with his left hand. Great work. Dereck Lively starting this possession on Victor Wembanyama, moving his feet. Maxey comes in to help. Lively switches on his Sohan at the rim and forces the miss with the verticality. You love that. You just need to go straight up. Right? And you go straight up, you can get away with a little lower body contact with a bump. That's something you can get away with if you go straight up. Great rim protection by Dereck Lively right there. And it's when Dereck Lively gets caught in space that's the most impressive to me. How he moves his feet, how he turns his hips so quickly, forcing Jordan Clarkson into a tough jumper here. Jordan Clarkson had a tough game last night against the Mavericks. Every time he had Dereck Lively on him, he thought this shit was sweet. He thought that he could get an easy bucket. Dereck Lively was not having that. It's him in space, how quickly he moves his feet, that I really think unlocks this Dallas Mavericks defense, because we know how good of a rim protector he is. We know that he can be a defensive anchor, right? That's something that you rarely ever say about a 20-year-old center, but Dereck Lively has shown that he can be a defensive anchor. It's getting out in space and holding his own, which is going to make him stay on the court for 30-plus minutes a game, whenever Jason Kidd finally decides it's time for that. It's that type of defense that'll have him on the court in crunch time against playoff teams, in crunch time in the postseason, in big playoff games, in finals games. I mean, they were just there. They're going to make it back, right? Again, it's early in the season. These numbers, these on-off stats, these can all change dramatically in one game. One good game, one bad game can have such a huge impact on these stats. So, don't let that be the main takeaway. But Dereck Lively so far has shown me what I was expecting to see from him, right? He just looks more comfortable on the basketball court. The game looks a little bit slower to him so far. He looks more vocal. He looks more comfortable in this defensive leadership role, which he is in. When he's on the court, he is the captain of the defense. That is his responsibility. He looks much more comfortable in that role so far this season. His energy, his effort, his motor is as good as ever. You could just tell so far this Mavericks team how comfortable and confident they are in him. Letting him initiate offense with these dribble handoffs, letting him pass out of the high post and just kind of using him as an offensive hub up there. Obviously, he's not starting yet. I just think they should pull the plug on this whole thing. I don't really understand it. Dereck Lively is the best center on this Mavericks team, I think fairly comfortably. That's not a knock on Daniel Gafford. I think Gafford's great, but I do think Dereck Lively is better, and at some point, you just have to have your best five on the court and just let everything else figure itself out. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Dereck Lively. He's done miracles on me. He's done miracles on me.